Hi, and welcome to the PEPP Story Live show, where tonight, following on from last night, we're going to be talking about vocal variety. So, how do you modify your voice to make what you're talking about sound much more interesting and engaging? So, purpose, experience, passion, performance, story. We're really focusing in on performance all this week, looking at things that you can do to improve the performance. But I want to make it very clear and remind you that all of these elements are necessary in a great speech. If you want to become an outstanding speaker, you have to be speaking on purpose. You have to draw on your experiences. You have to engage your passions. If you don't get those three properly working, then it doesn't matter how much you try to polish it with performance techniques, the speech won't work. Now, at the same time, if you just have purpose, experience, and passion, and you don't sort of focus on in the performance aspects, you can dull the speech. If people can't understand what you're saying, they'll switch off very quickly. So here we're going to be looking at vocal variety. That's the way in which you change your voice, you modify your voice. The worst thing of all is that I'm sure you've had it particularly, and it happens on Zoom. You get to listen to a speech, and it's just monotonous. And we have this on, when people are being interviewed on TV, on the news, and it's the same tone coming over. And I find a lot of politicians don't realize they're doing this. They've got this exactly the same tone every single time. They constantly push out this, they fail to answer questions. They just keep pushing things in this continuous tone of, I'm going to finish what I have to say, whatever happens. Then you get somebody comes along who just engages. They have a conversation. They sit and talk to someone in a very much more light-hearted way. You can feel and sense the real them, not just this packaged performance. And I think that's the importance we've got to recognize, that you can perform it, you can speak it well, but if it doesn't have that energy coming from passion, from experience, it's not going to work. So let's have a look at the various elements of vocal variety and talk a little bit around those. And you can think about, you've got to literally just sort of watch what you can do or get some coaching to help you build it. So pitch. This is the level of your speech. Now, obviously, women pitch their voices higher. I've got a fairly male voice. I raised the pitch a little bit once I changed gender, but it's still fairly well pitched as a male voice. It can go lower and it can go higher, and so you can play around. Now, if you're putting characters in, you need to think about the character's voice. Is it a high pitch or a low pitch? Now, things I will suggest. I've noticed that women tend to pitch high, and then when they get on stage, they'll raise the pitch even higher. If you start getting up to that very high pitch, it's difficult to listen to. So what I recommend strongly is that you start to speak a little bit more from the chest rather than from the head. Women tend to speak mostly with the voice echoing in the face and in the facial cavities. Men speak much lower. They speak very much from the chest. Now, same for men. If you take it too deep and go right down here, that becomes a little bit difficult to listen to. And I'm sure you've heard it. Okay, the voice of God. There's some very famous voiceovers who use that very deep voice, but it's short punches of it. If the speech is coming across very, very deep, and especially if there's a drawl and then a roll, it becomes very difficult to listen to. So that's the first thing. Think about your pitch. Where are you pitching your voice? What you want is a fairly neutral, natural pitch. If you just open your mouth the width of 2 fingers, you'll find, just by saying you'll find your natural pitch. Just open and relax and push it out. It's a very powerful voice. It's the strongest and most powerful part of your voice. And if you look at women, female actors, you'll find that they have the capacity to speak much, much more deeply in their voice. So think about pitch. Pitch is one of the first. Now we've got pace. Now, I know I am a quick speaker. I tend to speak way too quickly, and it's something I have to listen to. I listen to my own speeches back there. Oh, that was too quick, and I'm can sometimes get really into energized speech, and I have to slow down. And sometimes it's necessary just to remember to change the speed and tempo during your speech. If it's all at one pace, slow it down. Calm it. I'm going to talk about some other things. Well, I'm going to talk in a minute about one of the most important elements of the speech, in terms of the way in which you present. So we've got pitch. That's the high, low, neutral, and whereabouts you're going to speak in terms of the the quality of the pitch, the pace, the speed and tempo of your speech. And I know people who speak very rapidly. Others speak very slowly and methodically. Either end, again, you've got to watch this. Too fast, too slow, you'll lose your audience. You've got to get it into a pace that works. But bear in mind that when I'm doing, for example, voiceovers for books, if there's a lot of action going on, then the pace picks up. And you'll see this when you're watching a movie. What alters the pace in a movie is not just the speech and the way in which the actors are speaking, but you'll notice also the edits, the cuts between scenes. And what happens is as the action intensifies, as everything comes much faster, this time between those edits gets shorter and shorter. The average time between an edit on a movie is about 5 seconds. In a really fast action piece, you're down to a second, even half a second. Click, 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 click. And then it slows down and you get a long pace. And you might get, 10 seconds before you have an edit. I know you think, there's not that many edits. Yeah, there are. Just watch. Click, click, establishing shot, individual shot, all the time. That's what's happening all the time is movie makers, storytellers are looking at the pace. How do we get the pace to match what's happening in terms of the action? How do we get the pitch to match it? The more intense, the higher the pitch. The slower things are, the lower the pitch. It's just the way it works. Pause. Now, when you're writing, we use punctuation, full stops, we use commas, exclamation marks, we use quotes around things. These are all things to punctuate and emphasize and tell you what's going on with the text. And that punctuation tells you something about how it should be read and how you should be reading it. And it's about where you breathe. And if you've got lots of commas, you will pause in them. It's actually more than that. It's about silence. And I think people are very frightened of silence, and a lot of people I teach coaching when I'm speaking, biggest fear is they're going to get up on stage, forget what they wanted to say, and stand there in front of the audience, absolutely silent, can't remember what to say. Well, online, it's actually even worse, isn't it? Just a few seconds and you think, oh my God, oh no, what am I going to say? Oh, and we're panicking to what we say next. We've got to fill that gap, fill that vacuum. Well, you don't have to. You can use silence as part of your presentation. Sometimes silence is necessary. You need to give the audience time to catch up, to process what you're saying, giving it a little bit of silence, even stopping just to take a drink. That's something I do quite often when I'm on stage. Just stop, pause, take a little drink. Let some silence be there. So silence is our punctuation. So a full stop is a longer pause than a comma. A sentence, a paragraph break is an even bigger pause. So when you think about, how you would write and punctuate, think about how you would speak and punctuate it in the same way. If you want to emphasize something, a little pause beforehand, then state it. That's how we put things in quotes. So think about silence as your friend. One of the things I always suggest, if you're going to be speaking on a stage and coming up, don't rush up onto the stage still chattering. they're not listening. They're not catching what you're saying. Get up on the stage, get attention, let everybody settle down, survey the audience. I do this on workshops. I get people to quite literally stand in front of an audience for 30 seconds, say nothing, just look at the audience, just feel, be in touch with that silence, that presence, that sense of being there and having people look at you. It's fine. It's okay. Coming online. I start fairly quickly because this is going to go to an audio onto a podcast. And I know with podcasts, I don't want too much silence at the beginning because people think, oh, it's not working. Click. Go somewhere else. So you need that sound. Sometimes you need sound to come in very quickly. If it's just a straight video, very often we can just sit, wait. A lot of people, when they're doing webinars, got a time setting, they might sit there and just wait until the webinar starts. Just look at your silence, look at time. Don't jump in, get your attention and then go in. Allow some silence before you speak. Allow the audience to catch up. Doesn't all have to be, every single bit of time doesn't have to be filled with sound. So, next, tone, mood. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it creepy? What's the tone of the piece that you're delivering? And if you watch video blogs, some of the young bloggers, it's all manic. It's happy. It's chatty. It's go. Others, much more slow. If you're doing something that's about creepiness, if you're doing a talk which is about something that's quite scary, you need to slow the pace down, get some creepiness into your voice. Just remember, it was a cold and windy night. I know that's a bit cliche, but think about how you might, what tone you need for what you're doing. Listen to David Attenborough's program. I mean, he will change the tone depending on what's happening. When there's a life or death fight about to come, then the pace builds up and he creates that sense that, this is not going to be very good. This is going to be a bit scary. Think about your tone. What's the mood of the piece? How do you need to be? And get yourself into that mode. Now, we've also got, when we talk tone, intonation. Now, this is the rise and fall. I spent about a year while I was at university attempting to learn Mandarin. I've forgotten most of it now, but I would get back to it. But what I discovered looking at Mandarin and Thai languages, all of the languages of South Asia are tonal languages. So that whether you rise, my, rise and fall, rise, fall, neutral, they don't just change the sense of the word, they actually change the meaning completely, to the extent that, one word can mean shirt and another, with a falling tone, it can mean tiger. Literally so changeable. Now, what we tend to do with tone is that we shift the meaning. So we can take a statement and we can change it into a question simply by raising the tone at the end of the sentence. Now, I'm immediately thinking I should have got an example for this. I haven't got one immediately to hand. Can you close the door? Can you close the door? I'm saying is a question. Can you close? No, it's not going to work. So anyway, I've lost it. So just think about it. You can change the meaning of a word by changing the tone, whether it's rising or falling. There's a tendency, I know one of the things I learned when I was doing voiceover work is that we tend to fall at the end of sentences. And sometimes what you need to do is keep the pace up. So raise the tone so that you actually lift the mood of the piece. So listen to your tones. Should you be rising? Should it be falling? Those are another elements. And of course, the other thing is volume. I have a microphone here, so I can speak very quietly. There are other things that I can do. I can bring the microphone in, and I can go in and speak very quietly. But by moving into it, and I do this when I'm doing audiobooks, sometimes it works. One book I was narrating, there was quite a lot of internal words going on, stuff in people's heads. In order to differentiate what was happening when someone was thinking to when they were speaking, I found the thing to do was to create a totally different sound, and that was to move in and speak on that. I've seen a couple of speakers who've used this very well, where they've moved into the camera to make some emphasis. But you can play with volume in all sorts of ways. Be quiet, be noisy. Bear in mind, if you're using a camera, if you want a microphone, if you want to bump up the voice, you probably need to move back, just as you might see a singer move the microphone away when they're going to really power up the volume and put some power into a sound. They move the microphone away because what you don't want is feedback and the distortion that can happen. But play with it. Loud, quiet, nervous. What's the volume of the sound? So can you see all of those various elements go into getting the vocal variety right? And then finally, there's emphasis. And I'm going to show you a simple example of this. This is one of the ways in which, we don't realize just how we can change the meaning of something. Just take a simple sentence. I didn't say he stole the money. What does that mean? You write that down. It's just a simple word. But how I say that in terms of the emphasis I put on any particular word. So, for example, I can say, I didn't say he stole the money. Somebody else said it. It wasn't me. Or I could change it by putting the emphasis on didn't. Say, I didn't say he stole the money. So I didn't say it. It's a flat denial. So two different meanings. One is saying, I didn't say it. Somebody else may have said it, but I didn't say it. I didn't say he stole the money. You've got this all wrong. Or I didn't say he stole the money. I may have implied it. I didn't say it. All of those are changing subtly the meaning of the word. I didn't say he stole the money. She stole the money. I didn't say he stole the money. He borrowed it. I know he planned to pay it back. But can you see, just by changing around this, I didn't say he stole the money. I have changed the words. And in fact, I can even change the emphasis on I didn't say he stole the money. It was some other money that's a little bit more subtly. But quite literally, in a sentence there with 7 words, I can create 7 different meanings simply by changing the emphasis, putting a decision about where I place the emphasis on what I'm saying. So vocal variety is really critical. It transforms and changes the meaning of your words. You can put emphasis on what you want people to remember, especially if it's the big point of your story. You want to make sure you actually say that in a way that really gets across what it is you mean and what you want people to remember from that story. So vocal variety, really, really crucial. Play with it. Try it, record yourself, do a bit of your speech, listen back. Does that sound entertaining? Does it sound engaging? Are you moving your voice up and down? Are you using, are you getting faster? Are you getting slower? How are you coming across in the way in which you present your speech? And does it really entertain? Is it making people want to listen? Or is, what you want to do obviously is avoid the continuous monotone voice, which basically doesn't change or move and ends up with people just switching off. As natural as you can be is the most important thing. If you're working on a speech that is clear sense of purpose, it draws on your experience, engages your passions, is filled with great stories, then performance can enhance it and make it really come alive. This is all part of a package of tools that you bring together to make your speaking, to make you become an outstanding speaker. I shall be back tomorrow, day 19, looking at more performance issues. Going to be looking a little bit more at body language and eye contact and the way in which you might engage non-verbally with people. We've been talking about verbal communication. If you need some help, don't forget I'm available for speech coaching, and you can get a free 30-minute introductory session. Just drop me a line at ricky@rickyarundel.com, and I should be more than happy to help you. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that tonight. Some little thoughts, ideas around it. We've got 2 nights on. Had 2 nights talking about voice and how to use your voice. It sometimes needs a bit of coaching. It needs some feedback to help people, for you to hear what's really going on. It's often difficult just to really get our own voice. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed tonight, and I look forward to being back with you tomorrow night with more great stuff on how you can become an outstanding speaker. Bye for now.